Yo, it's your boy Mike K. Smith, also known as Coolest Guy in Sports, aka the Truth Teller, aka the Wizard. We are back talking about Caitlin Clark and Juju Watkins. We are talking about a new era where we are talking about the future faces of the league. We got Caitlin Clark, who's already the face of the WNBA, but we know Juju Watkins and her talent and everything that she brings to the game of basketball, even right now in college. We know that someday she is going to help Caitlin Clark carry that mantle of making the sport more popular, helping be the face of the league, because she's already doing it right now in the college ranks when we talk about her overall game, her overall style, everything, marketability, everything she brings to the basketball court. And Juju Watkins has not shied away from speaking her mind and opening up about things that she feels that is going on in the women's game. And that's what you love to see. You love to see a player be able to articulate their point of views and express everything that they feel like what is happening within the WNBA, especially when they're playing a part of helping the WNBA and also just women's basketball grow in general. And I know that Juju Watkins is not in the WNBA right now, but I know for a fact that she's going to be in the WNBA, and she is something the WNBA has never really going to see until she enters the league, similar to Caitlin Clark. And I'm not trying to make this a Caitlin Clark and Juju Watkins comparisons. I'm not doing that because I've come out on several streams and have said that Caitlin Clark is already in the WNBA. You let the college girls focus on college. You let Juju Watkins, Hannah Hidalgo, Paige Beckers, Flage, you let them focus on the college game right now, and then they'll worry about Caitlin Clark when they enter into the WNBA. But Juju Watkins, speaking of how she talks about the game of basketball, how she talks about the women's game, and how she talks about everything and the growth of the women's game in this year in 2000, well, past years, 2025 and 2024, how the WNBA became the most popular league, and for its growth, for as any league in the United States of America, the league with the most growth was the WNBA, and that's contributed mainly and solely because of Caitlin Clark and also the product on the basketball court. And a lot of eyes are glued in on the women's side, and we're not just talking about the WNBA, we also talk about the college ranks as well, as it keeps breaking attendance and streaming. And this is not just with Caitlin Clark being in the college game anymore. They're doing it right now with Juju Watkins, Flage, Hannah Hidalgo, Miles as well, and Malaysia Flowers. Like, it's a lot of talented women in the college game of basketball on the women's side, and as well in the WNBA. But Juju Watkins came out and basically talked new fans in the WNBA, new fans within the sport. And I love her mentality. I love everything that she is saying. And she's basically saying, like, she kind of gets it. And this is what you want for a future face of the league. This is what you want for a player that's going to help generate revenue and millions of dollars for the WNBA, and also going to compete and be part of being that face of the league with Caitlin Clark someday. You want a player that's not going to come out and kind of try to help some fans that have been watching the WNBA kind of gatekeep the league. It's like they want to gatekeep the WNBA and gatekeep people for watching the WNBA. And Juju Watkins came out and basically supported the idea of new fans and new haters and people coming into watching women's sports and basketball in particular in the WNBA, and basically said it is important. And I hope they cheer me on, and I hope they support me. But I also love supporters, but I also love haters, because anything with eyes on the game is a good thing. I don't know what happened, but when we are talking about the game of basketball, when we're talking about growth, when we're talking about making the women's game of basketball, in particular the WNBA, bigger than it has ever been, and we saw this past year, it was a lot of hiccups along the way for us people not being comfortable with the spotlight. But unfortunately, the spotlight is going to come because you have generational type of players like a Caitlin Clark. You have a generational type of player like a Juju Watkins coming in eventually to the WNBA, and that's going to attract more fans. It's going to attract more people talking about the game. It's going to attract more media attention. It's going to attract more people starting to either love Caitlin Clark and want to generate a brand and promotion and media influence by commentating and talk about her game, as well as people hating, not liking her, wanting to diss her and create a brand or media influence hated on her game. That has always been a part of sports. So for Juju Watkins to come out and say that new fans are important, and yes, it can be a headache at times, but I get it. I understand it, because at the end of the day, I hope people support me. I want people to love me, and they're going to love me. But I also am comfortable with having haters and having doubters, and hopefully I can change how they feel as well. But if I don't, who cares? Because at the end of the day, I know I am a bucket. I know I have game. I know I have talent. So this was great to really hear, and refreshing. And it's really refreshing when we're talking about a 19-year-old stud who is on track to break Caitlin Clark's all-time season record when we talk about points scored in NCAA history. That's how cold she is. She's on track to do it. I don't know if she's going to do it, but she's on pace right now as a 19-year-old. So she talked about so many new fans being in the sport sometimes can be, but not necessarily challenging, but just can give you a headache a bit. Not a lot of people know what they're talking about sometimes. I agree with that fact. There's a lot of people that are talking and commentating and analyzing the game that know nothing about basketball whatsoever, but that doesn't stop people from generating a fan base, generating clout, making money. But she's 100% right. There's too many people talking about basketball that don't necessarily know about the game of basketball. Basketball is the most complex, simple sport in the world. It's easy for the casual fan to understand, but it's also extremely complex in the nuance and the details, and understand the pointillistic things that the pointillistic details that players have to know, like the spots and the angles on the basketball court. And it's very complex as well, but it's also easy to understand to where you have casual fans that come in and think they know everything, but they really don't. So she's absolutely right. But she said it's great. But it's great for the sport. The fact that people are watching is enough itself. Watkins said when asked by Fox News Digital exclusive interview about what challenges come with the sport's attention. So she's talking about, yeah, people don't know really what they're talking about. Some of the necessary challenges, yeah, it may give you a headache and it's kind of annoying. But at the end of the day, it's great for the sport. It's that old cliche saying, all publicity is good publicity. And I kind of feel that way when we're talking about the WNBA and we're talking about the growing of the women's basketball brand in general, because in order for something to have success, in order for things to get more popular, to generate more money, to have people talk about, to have people have interest in, you just don't need love and praise. You need hate as well. And that until people start to realize that in the women's basketball realm, that everything is not going to be positive, that everything is not going to be kumbaya, that everything is not going to always be like, oh, we love you, we support you. You're going to have people critique you. You're going to have people not like you. You're going to have people talk about they don't like your play style in comparison to a different play style. You're going to have people commenting on your game and the things and the areas and the weaknesses that you have on the game you may need to improve on. If as long as it's basketball related, toughen up, because the men's side has been getting this commentary for years, and it's a part of the sport, and it's a part of helping the sport grow. So having Juju Watkins come out and basically said, we would like it to be positive, but it's not always going to be like that. So as long as we continue to raise the numbers and viewership goes up, I think that's all we can ask for. Everybody wants things to be positive. Everybody wants things to focus on the game of basketball. I think when things get outside of the game of basketball and when the narratives and when you have people try to make the sport like into WWE, which we see in the men's side, like it's all about entertainment, it's all about personality, that's when things can get dicey. But also we have to understand that helps the league grow and that helps the league generate money and that helps the attention be on players and on the sport. Watkins said that she even wants those fans to cheer for her too. But even if they end up hating her, she would still embrace the fact that they're paying attention. And this is where we talk about having a player that embodies that mama mentality, embodies that tough mentality, embodies that, yo, I know I'm cold. I know I'm a bucket. I know myself. I am a one of one. I am a transcendent talent. And I have to understand that my game is going to do the talking. I have to understand that people are going to love and support me, but people are also going to hate me. That's why you can hear Caitlin Clark in interviews basically like, oh, yeah, this is what's going on. I support this aspect of the game. We need to keep the game in this way. People are those people that are being trolls and are spewing hatred out of for my namesake is not real fans at all. And I 1,000% agree. But the people that want the game to be in the light for the women's side where you can't critique, you can't talk about players' weaknesses, you can't do comparisons on this player compared to that player. You can't talk about how the game is changing, is coming more modernized, where you have a generational one-of-one generator, a player that's never had this type of play style enter the WNBA for in Caitlin Clark. You can't always have people just shine and spew praise 24/7. That's not how things grow. That's not reality. And the fact of the matter is, you can be working in an office, you can be working in corporate. And the truth of the matter is, some people gonna like you, and some people may not like you for no reason at all. And it seems like Caitlin Clark understands that, and also Juju Watkins at 19 years old gets that. Watkins, I'm saying it again, Watkins says she even wants those fans to cheer for her too, but even if they end up hating her, she would still embrace the fact that they're paying attention. And that's beautiful to hear because that's you're not trying to gatekeep women's basketball. She's basically saying, yeah, we want to keep things positive. We want to make sure that all praise is given to all players. We want to make sure that things are talking about and having appreciation for what these women do on the basketball court. But in reality, we know that like when more eyes on the game brings more revenue, and it's also going to bring new fans. It's also going to bring more controversial moments. It's going to bring more debates. It's going to bring more people analyzing and critiquing like we never seen before. It's going to bring more people talking on social media, whether it's positive or crazy ass trolls. This is what sports is about. And we see that in every league in the WNBA. In order for it to grow, they got to understand that that's going to be a part of their league as well. But you can't get mad and can't get upset with every negative comment or people trolling or being sensitive when people are critiquing a player's game or player's game, regardless of what side of fandom that you're on. When asked if she wants the sports controversial new fans to cheer for her, to Watkins answer, oh yeah, I love supporters, but I also love haters. You can't, the best way to be, and this is how I am in this life. And I've had people hate me. I had people love me. I had people hate on my commentary. I had people love on my commentary. I heard people in all lights talk about the way I am as a person, the way I talk, the way I speak, the way I analyze the game, whether they like it, whether they love it. But at the end of the day, as long as they're paying attention, I don't give a damn because that's what matters. Because you can't reach a certain upper echelon or a certain field or become the best at something or one of the best at something. And I've been, and this is humbly me saying this, I've been in every aspect of my life the best at something at some point in time. And I've had haters and I had praisers, but it don't matter to me because it's all about consistency. It's never about getting too high. It's never about getting too low. And that's why I can confidently say that one day I'm going to be one of the greatest basketball analysts in the world, because of the fact of the matter is, one, I got God on my side, and number two, I'm humble, and I don't think, you know how sometimes people say they're humble and things, like you're not really humble if you say you're humble, but I come from humble beginnings. I trust in the Lord with all my heart, and most importantly, I understand that in my part of my life, I've had haters, I've had praisers, I had supporters. Love and hate, it don't really do much for me, because it's all about being consistent, and it's all about having that balance and being comfortable with that, and comfortable with the conversation, and comfortable with people talking, and comfortable with people praising, and not letting it get too high and fill your head up. That's why these athletes, and when you're a former athlete, that makes sense. You kind of wired that way as well. So I respect what Juju Watkins has said. I think it's just part of the game. Here we go. There's so many sides to it. So it's the nature of the game. There's always going to be negative and positive aspects of it. Juju Watkins gets it, man. And Caitlin Clark gets it. And this is why when she's coming out and talking about the controversial new fans and people want to kind of like gatekeep the league, she's talking about like, yo, the nature of sports, the nature of the world is it's going to be good things that happen in your life. It's going to be bad things that happen in your life. But it's all how you adapt to each of those things. Juju Watkins is basically saying new fans bringing into the sport. Yeah, we want things to stay positive, but that's not necessarily always going to be reality. Yeah, we want things to be on product focus, but sometimes people are going to create narratives that have nothing to do with the game of basketball. That's just the nature of the business. I think it's just part of the game. There's so many sides to it. So it's the nature of the game, and there's always going to be a negative, positive aspect. She is 100% right. Now, Caitlin Clark, who was chosen as Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year, and we talk about Shelly Johnson. We did a stream in the past talking about how she said criticized the decision to choose Clark for the award. Johnson said that Clark was chosen because of the way the media plays out race and didn't do enough to recognize other players in the league, which is absolutely asinine, absolutely a disgusting take, consider the fact that she's the second basketball player of all time to be the Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year. So how are we talking about race when you look at historically, when we talk about the issue of this cover, it's been LeBron James and Caitlin Clark. When you think about LeBron James, we think of one-on-one. We think of GOAT. We think of the chosen one. We think about Caitlin Clark. We're thinking about one-on-one. We think of baby GOAT. We think of the chosen one. We think of the greatest generator already of all time in the WNBA, a player that brought a new play style to the women's side of the sport that hasn't really been seen before, never been seen before. So the fact that Shelly Johnson came out and says that's like she criticized Time Magazine for selecting Caitlin Clark, and she says the media is trying to make out race, which we already know at times there's certain things that the media does do. But for this point, that was always an asinine statement, because at the end of the day, how's things about race when historically the only ever basketball player to don the Time Sports Athlete of the Year was a black man? It was a man that is deemed the chosen one. And by most people, if you don't view LeBron James as the GOAT, he's a top, you view him as at least at the bare minimum, a top 3 basketball player to ever play the game. And when we look at Caitlin Clark in this past 2024 season and everything that she has done this entire year and everything that she's meant to the game of basketball on the women's side and brought to the women's side, it's like, what are we talking about? So that was that. And then Juju Watkins came out and said, basically, Time Magazine made the right call. Like most hoop heads know, that most hoop heads will acknowledge, we would say that Time Magazine made the right calls and it was the right decision. I'm all for Watkins, and honestly, I think she deserves it. I don't think anyone has changed the trajectory of the sport so much. So honestly, I think she deserves every bit of it. And she's just being real. Clark herself stoked backlash for some of her own supporters in the Time interview when she made the statement, as a white person, there is privilege. It's super dope. Watkins said about Clark's comments on white privilege. For her to kind of bring that to light was cool. So when we think of Juju Watkins, she's just sharing her opinion. She just is really expressing how she feels. Clark herself has acknowledged the outrage her comment sparked, and like Watkins, embraced the positive and negative attention that come with it. And this is when we talk about the love and the hate. You got people that are new fans in the game. You got people that are supporters. You got supporters that are going to turn haters. We've seen that with Caitlin Clark throughout this whole year. We have people that supported Caitlin Clark, but the minute she didn't say something they wanted her to say, or the minute she says something that they didn't want her to say, they turn into haters. They stop watching the sport. They start spewing hatred in the comment. And that's why Caitlin Clark came out and said several times that those people weren't real fans of the sport. They're just trolls. If you can base your decision on whether you like somebody or you hate somebody as a fan based on if you're trying to have a agenda for your political viewpoints, that's corny. That means you never liked the game of basketball. That means you just like what you thought in your mind that this person possibly supported without never even having a conversation with her, never even know her political stance, never even know anything about her. So that was always corny. With the way things are going and where the NBA is going, you want that attention. You embrace it. That's what makes it so fun. Clark said in the backlash at the top year the Tom event in New York. So I love that. With the way things are going, where the WNBA is going, you want that attention. You embrace it, and that's what makes things so fun. Clark said at the backlash. She different. And this is what I'm talking about, Juju Watkins. They're different. These women got that sicko mentality. And when we talk about Kobe Bryant, we think of mama mentality. We think of how wired he was, how differently wired he was in comparison to other players, because you never can read their minds. Caitlin Clark coming out said, and that's what makes things special, those comments. With the way things are going, where the WNBA is going, you want that attention. Caitlin Clark said, I want that attention. I want people to not know what I'm going to say. I want people to hate on me, go from love to haters. I want that because it brings attention to the WNBA. It brings light to the WNBA, and all publicity is good publicity. And Juju Watkins is spewing the same thing when she's talking about it's going to be positive, it's going to be negative. And that's all a part of helping the sport grow. But at the end of the day, as long as eyes are being brought to the game, that's what matters. Controversy has been a driving force behind the rise of women's basketball. All right, we don't worry about all that. We know about the injuries and all that, blase. As Watkins looks to keep eyeballs, okay, here we go. As Watkins looks to keep eyeballs on her sport and potentially chase down Clark's all-time scoring record, she has the choice to even tap into Clark herself as a resource to do this. So that means like Caitlin Clark gave Juju Watkins her number for advice, for probably feedback, for, just have a conversation. Watkins said Clark has offered her phone number and that the teenager can reach out for advice from Clark anytime. Watkins hasn't taken Clark up on her offer yet, but is keeping the offer in her back pocket for the right time. Juju Watkins and Caitlin Clark is going to potentially be a rivalry in the WNBA. Because when you have two players who have a similar mindset for the way they view the game of basketball, a similar work effort, and also a transcending talents, Caitlin Clark is a transcending talent, one-on-one, the chosen one. All-time best generator for passing and scoring this league has ever seen. She did that as a rookie. She has a mindset where all controversy helps eyes get drawn to the WNBA, and that's the beauty of the game because it's growing and all attention is being a part of the WNBA, whether you like it or you don't like it. Juju Watkins, transcending talent, one-on-one, can score in rivalry race, shot creator, handle the ball. Her playmaking ability this year as her sophomore year is also improving. Also, she locks up in guards. She's extremely athletic for a woman. She's going to be a transcending player in the league. They have the same mindset. They're wired differently. They don't care about what other people feel. They don't care if you love them. They love their supporters, but they also love their haters. And when I hear two women speak like that and have that same wire mentality, that lets me know that, like, yo, they out to be great, because nothing really is phasing them. Nothing is not the praise. They love the praise, cool. They love the hate, cool. But what they love most is hooping, proving people wrong, and not letting either thing cloud their head. They're gonna be great, man. It's special times, special times, and I'm happy that Juju Watkins had this interview with Fox Digital Team and got to articulate her thoughts on new fans entering the sport of basketball on the women's side, and how people can talk about it's a controversy, and how controversy has been the increase for viewership and the increase for more eyes being locked in on the women's side of the sport. But it don't really mean nothing, because at the end of the day, it's what you do on the basketball court that matters. And it doesn't matter if they love you or they hate you, as long as they're watching and supporting. These women going to ball out, and they're going to show what they're about. Now, switch gears here. Stephen A. Smith came out talking about Bradley Beal and Jimmy Butler. And this is when we talk about the media. Shayla Johnson was talking about how the media was basically making things into a race thing. Yes, does the media have access to control different narratives? Yes. Can the media push out different agendas that they want to see? Yes. Do the media can contribute to breaking up locker rooms? Yes. The media has a lot of power that people don't necessarily want to acknowledge. Even though I feel like Shayla Johnson was wrong in what she said about the race thing with the WNBA and for its times, and Caitlin Clark not deserving Times Athlete Person of the Sports Person of the Year, that was stupid. But for it's like what she said about the media can play up on certain things and create certain narratives. And we're seeing this with Stephen A. Smith right now. We're seeing this with people covering the NBA with the Phoenix Suns and the Jimmy Butler situation and Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. I have seen so many people basically say that Bradley Beal is wrong for not exercising or using his no trade clause. I've seen people come out and say that Bradley Beal needs to ask out. Why? Who gonna make him ask out if he holds the power? And that's what he said. I have the cards. Until somebody comes out and lets me know something different, then I'm gonna be a Phoenix Sun. And now we have Stephen A. Smith, who is a power media figurehead, probably the biggest media figure, sports figure in the world, certainly the most paid, of course. Super smart, articulate, knows the game of basketball. And this is what he comes out and says.
Beal the talent. I think the brother's is a sniper. He's a shooter. He can ball. He's far from a scrub. He's an all-star caliber talent. I think the brother. I'm a fan of Bradley Beal, the talent. I think the brother's is a sniper. He's a shooter. He can ball. He's far from a scrub. He's an all-star caliber talent.
Talent that averaged 30 with the Washington Wizards, elite scorer, three-level player, bucket getter, and can play defense at times when he's locked in.
But at some point in time, and I say this respectfully, very respectfully, because
here we go. This is where the narrative is about to come in.
Again, I'm fond of him. I say it very respectfully to him and Mark Bartlestein, one of the elite agents in this business. Here's what we have to ask this question respectfully about Bradley Beal. Hey, bro, how do you feel at this stage and point in your career, knowing that your money isn't compromised, about being with a team that doesn't want you to be there?
So, just because his money is not compromised, just because the Phoenix Suns organization can't dictate and control to try to trade Bradley Beal because he has the power, now they're saying like, oh, they're putting Bradley on the bench, which is some truth to it, because they want to make him ostracize him and make him ask out and he's never been on the bench before, even though their coach is saying that, yo, it's not really about him being on the bench. It's more so to provide a spark, and also, system-wise, he fits better coming off the bench, because we know that having Bradley Beal and Devin Booker share the court together where they play the same position hasn't necessarily worked out, even though we know Devin Booker can pass and facilitate and be a playmaker because he played the point guard position for a few seasons when the Suns were garbage. But let's continue.
Where's your pride? What you gonna do? You've been with the Washington Wizards. You were going home in the first round. You never got past the second round. You weren't making the playoffs every single year. 2014 to 2015.
What does that have to do with what is the team makeup and Bradley Beal being a star player on the Washington Wizards has to do with his pride of not allowing the Phoenix Suns to dictate if he's going to use his no trade clause or not to make Kevin Durant and that organization and Devin Booker happy.
It was good. 2017, you made the playoffs. You missed it in 2016, of course. 2018, you get sent home in the first round. 2020, then you missed the playoffs in 2019 and 2020. 2021, you get to the playoffs again. Again, you go home in the first round. Then you missed the playoffs in 22 and 23. And then last year in 24, again, now you're a Phoenix Sun. You go home in the first round.
I'm just confused on this take. Because it's just kind of like, it just seems like the media wants to push Jimmy Butler to be in Phoenix, and Phoenix has come out and said they're the only team that's going to offer him a 2-year, $112 million contract extension. And they're also going to give Kevin Durant a contract extension, which in reality, I don't think that's necessarily a great idea when we think of two players that Kevin Durant is still balling. He's definitely a top 5 to 10 player in this league, but two players that are older and are past the peak levels of their games, it doesn't necessarily make sense. Even if you acquire to Jimmy Butler, that doesn't guarantee a championship. So it just seems like now we're about to start hearing people like Stephen A. Smith, who can be very influential, come out in the media and say, like, where's your pride? A team doesn't want you. You're coming off the bench. You didn't make the playoffs with the Washington Wizards. What does that have to do with the fact of the matter that this man has a no-trade clause and can control where he wants to go? It has nothing to do with that. But the fact of the matter is people want to see Jimmy Butler in Phoenix. People want to see this trade go through, and people want to see Bradley Beal basically just say, yup, I'm going to use I'm going to opt out of not having a no-trade clause. I want to be traded, and necessarily lose the power. So it's a very dicey situation. This is what we talk about, having the media having control and the media having narratives and things of that, because we're looking at a situation where now that the Phoenix Suns and the organization can't necessarily get Bradley Beal to do what they want. Now we're going to hear Bradley Beal. He's going to have to see and witness things in the media and people saying all these things in the media about now he doesn't have any pride. Now the team doesn't want him. Now you're coming off the bench. You've never been a bench player. Now you was never a winner, and you was all in the Washington Wizards, and you always get knocked out in the first round. Even though the Washington Wizards organization has never really built out a championship contender in a very long time, and we know the situation with John Wall, him getting hurt, and things of that nature. So now all this stuff is about to be the Brad hate show, and then Brad's gonna be sitting back at home questioning like, yo, maybe this is right. How does my locker room really feel about me? Why do I want to be here? And then it's going to benefit. All this stuff is going to go on in the media for the next few weeks. It's going to benefit the Phoenix Suns and the organization and possibly get Bradley Beal to crack. And if you're Bradley Beal, if I'm you stand 10 toes down or whatever you want to do. But I'm not letting no team and nobody force me out, in particular when at the end of the day, you traded for me. You wanted me to come here. I didn't even ask to come here. And the fact of the matter is, it's not Bradley Beal's fault that the fit, which was never a natural fit to begin with, when you had Devin Booker on your team already, it's not his fault that things aren't working out, but every team needs a scapegoat. Every team needs a player they can place some blame on. And it seems like Bradley Beal is that player. Now, it's your boy, Mark K. Smith. Make sure you go like, comment, and subscribe. Run it up, run it up, run it up, run it up, run it up. Also, follow me on AKISS NBA on all the social media platforms. I appreciate you tapped into the stream. I'm gone, man. Peace.